everyone, welcome to QuiltNCode. I'm Allison and this is my rejuvenating stitches studio where I get to come up here, drink a lovely beverage and do some sewing of my own with you guys. And so we are this week working on the stripology, and so I'm continuing a series where I am going through the Mastering the Stripology book and different things that we can do with this wonderful tool. I think the coolest thing about today's lesson is just showing you how one tool is doing it all. You don't need multiple tools or multiple things in order to do this one thing. It's pretty awesome. I am drinking this morning a delightful IHOP cocoa flavored coffee with some flavored creamer that I really need to give up, but I can't. I'm addicted, and so I'm enjoying this very, very much. Probably needs to be heated up just a little bit, but that's because I've been sitting here playing for a little bit. So I'm going to drink a little bit of my cocoa coffee. What do you call that, mocha? Anyway, so I'm going to put this over to the side and we're going to get started. Today we're doing flying geese. So this is all about flying geese. I'm going to show you the process through which we are doing the flying geese and the finished results in both a larger size and a mini size. I'm so excited. You know how I like my minis. Okay, so just to catch you up, if you haven't been watching, I have been demonstrating all of the stripologies. And so I've been, and I'm going to put them over here. This is the book I'm using. It's the Mastering Your Stripology Rulers book, but a lot of the information that I've been giving you has, it's all on the GE Designs website. And so if you go to the GE Designs website, you're going to find all the numbers that you need and all that other stuff. On the other hand, this is not that expensive and it has everything you need plus all your tutorials in there. I joke about the fact that when I start something new and learn something new, I have to do odd stuff like 50 times before I get it. Okay, I'm working on about 10 flying geese right now, so you know I'm gonna mess it up. But this technique is so cool and so perfect, and every time it's just, yep, I've moved on to a new tool. I'm not even quite sure I can use those other tools now, as I've been talking about for I can't even square with another tool at this point. I love this one so much that my brain is now thinking this way. All right, cool. So I am going to turn to the stripology that I am using today is the stripology squared right here, and so I'll put that right down here. So this is the stripology squared, and I apologize for the glare. We still haven't figured that out yet. I mean, we figured it out. We know where it's coming from. We just don't know how to stop it.
You need less shiny stripologies.
I need less shiny stripologies is what I'm hearing from the peanut gallery over there. Okay, so, and in the peanut gallery today is my husband Laney and my minion Gray, and so I have minions all summer. Young folks who have come in to learn the trade and of both of us, so computers and sewing, and so it's really, really awesome. I have one working downstairs right now making a sample for me, and Gray is up here learning the technical stuff and how to fix a computer at this moment in time. So it's pretty cool. So this is what we started with. I started by doing strips, ended up with these nice, cool mini 9 patches, okay? Showed you how to do those really, really easily, okay? Last week we got into triangles. This is what I ended up with my last week triangle tutorial. And so it's really, really tiny, really cute. Now I have to figure out how I'm gonna fit that into my project. And so this is what we started with, or what I ended up cutting, and then I was able to put those in to make a little star. I don't have enough to put all of the peach in the center or all of the flowers in the center, and so I might have to make some more. I mean, gosh, I might have to make some more. Anyway, let's get on to today's flying geese. Okay, move you guys down there. Excellent. So this is where we're headed. These are a bigger size than what I'm going to end up making. I am going to end up making the tiny, but this is where we're headed. Look at how perfect that 1/4 inch is from that tip. You just can't get any more perfect than this, you guys. It's just absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to show you just how easy that is. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with a large triangle and triangle. Boy, I need to go back to kindergarten. A large square and a small square, okay? And so the measurements are given either on the website or they're given for me right here in my book. So everything is right there. It's going to tell me what my cuts are, what I'm starting with, that type of thing. Fabric A square, so just so you know, the larger square, that is where the, that's your flaps, okay? That's your wings of your geese. And so just to sort of orient you as to where you're going. I needed that because when I first started, I was like, oh, I'm gonna cut a 5-inch piece of fabric and a 3.5-inch piece of fabric. And wait a minute, where are the geese coming from? And so think about that. These are your wings right here, and this is your body, okay? So you're going to place that, you're gonna place this, this square right sides together. Another reason why I switched from the yellow is because I couldn't show you that these are right sides together fabrics. Okay, and you're gonna place them on point and you're gonna cut them on point. Now, she shows that you can use the large stripology to cut those on point. You can, I'm just lazy and I'm gonna bring this guy in right here and I'm gonna simply use the edge. That way I don't have to bring in the big guy and I can still get this done. And so what I am looking for though is that all my points are matching up all the way down, okay? So we're gonna do this again in just a minute with my minis. And after I've done this, 10 times, I'm sitting here going, what I really would have wished I've done is actually mark that and done my sewing and then cut. That's okay. Because there's numerous reasons for why I think this would make for a better, I'm going to do it the way the book is doing it right now, but because now I am on the bias, I was finding that my triangles were sort of wanting to do that stretchy thing. And so by having the line and doing your sewing on each side of the line, I think that will help cut out some of that bias. That bias difficulty that I was having with my sewing. So let me see, I'm gonna move this over here and make sure I've got it up there. Okay, cool.
And Bonnie is on and says hi.
Hey Bonnie, it was so good to see Bonnie this week. Bonnie was our winner of our our scrap bag. And so she was able to be here to receive it, and we're gonna send out that YouTube shortly once I edit it. Okay, so I am lining up right here with my 1/4 inch. So I'm gonna, just as if I had put a line down the center, I am going to stitch this. And I'm gonna do that with both of them. And like I said, we're gonna do this again in just a second with a smaller one. So we'll do it the other way and we'll see if I feel more comfortable or if it went a little faster the other way. I have no idea. If it does, I'll just make a mark in my book that this is how I like to do things. And if it's not, you guys will see me mess up on live TV. I mean live YouTube and Facebook. All right, so now I am going to iron these to the larger fabric. And so I like to place that larger fabric on top, and then I'm going to give it a little bit of an iron. They say that loosens the fibers. Who knows if that really does that, but that's the new way of doing things, so we're going to go with it. It does seem to help flip things over just a little bit easier, so maybe it is the loosening of the fibers. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other piece. So we're going towards that larger piece of fabric. There's whispering going on in the peanut gallery. All right, here we go. So now what we're going to do, and this really is where I decided, you know what, I'm bringing out the pen, just because I want to make sure that I know that I get this right. Okay, so now I am going to place them still right sides together, but I am going to place the yellow toward the gold and the yellow toward the gold here. Okay, notice how I'm lining up, not on the seam. I am lining up with my corners, okay? That is extremely important. You do not want to nest those seams because these are two different guys. And then I'm gonna bring my stripology out again. And I decided I like this better. Now, in the directions, it says go ahead and cut and then stitch. I've decided I like this better, so I mark it. And I'm gonna just stick a pin on each side so they don't shift. I'm a pinner. And then I am going to stitch on either side of the line. And I think that will give me, well, I know the last time I felt more comfortable with that than the way I had been doing it. What was that?
Camera.
Oops. You can't see a thing. There you go. Now you can see my dirty floor. So, if you're just joining me, this is our stripology flying geese. And I discovered this method when I was at H&H Americas and was taking a class with Gundred, she's the creator of the stripology and all this stuff. And I mean, like, I think my jaw just dropped to the floor. So, yeah. Just absolutely, I was like, oh my gosh, what did you just do? So that it was pretty funny. Okay, so that's the only stitching that you need to do. We're done with stitching for these two flying geese. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut my corner to corner. And then when you open this up, you're gonna see it looks really, really wonky, okay? And this is where I got to, I was like, wait, what? Where are the flying geese? I understand nothing. Just keep watching, because watch what happens. So the first thing we're gonna do is with this stitch right here that we just did, we're going to make just the littlest of cuts right here so that we can press toward that larger fabric. Remember we started with that gold fabric as being our larger fabric. I did not go through my stitching. I just went to the stitching. And then I'm gonna bring my iron back out and I am going to iron this to the gold side, just like that. And so I need to do that on my other goose as well. Okay, so that's why you need to have that little clip there. Okay, and then here is where it gets fun. I'm gonna go ahead and do both of them because I know that you're gonna wanna see the cut in twice, 3 times, 10 times, 50 times, and then you'll finally understand what I'm doing and how cool this is. I only got to see it once. She only did it once for me at H&H and my jaw was on the floor. I was like, at that point in time, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm becoming a stripologist. That's all there is to it. Okay, so now we have this piece right here, okay? Now, my goose is here. This is the body of my goose. These are my wings, okay? So I want my goose, which is also fabric B, okay? If I want my fabric B to be inside it's going to be on these sides, okay, of my piece, okay? Now, it's really, really hard to see, so I'm going to try and, like, get it a little closer to the camera so that you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so in the stripology, you see that we have these white diagonal lines right here, okay? So my goose is going to be shaped by this center and by these 2 diagonal lines here. And so that's my center of my goose. And here are the diagonal lines following it perfectly, okay? And then it actually tells me where to make my first cut. So for this particular one, I need to make my first cut at this inch mark right here. And I could tell the first time I did it, I was like, oh, I know exactly where I'm cutting. Because I know I want a 1/4 inch out here, so I know I'm going to be cutting that 1/4 inch. And then down here, it just was, you could see it. And so now I've got my, right there, and, okay, there is my center. and I know I'm going to go 1/4 of an inch out. I can't cut there anyway, right? And so I'm going to go 1/4 of an inch out. And so I really don't even need the numbers, but I have them if I do, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to lift up, and I'm going to move over to this goose right here and place my center mark at the tip of my goose body and my diagonal lines along the wings right there. And I know that I want that 1/4 inch. I can't cut on it anyway. And so that's at that mark. And then I am going to be cutting down here at the 5.5. I can tell because that's, I mean, like, you can just tell. Say it. All right, and so now if I pull these out, you can already see how they are perfectly in line with each other, okay? So now we need to trim. Oh, you can't see that because I don't have it in the camera. There you go. Now you can see that they're both the same width. Exactly, right? Okay, and they're trimmed down beautifully. And you can already see that gorgeous 1/4 of an inch right there and how easy it's gonna be to sew that. So now we wanna sew, or we wanna clip the edges. And so we're gonna, again, use the diagonal lines and the center point. And again, you really don't need the book. You can see right where you're supposed to cut right there because it's at the edge of that diagonal line. And so it was funny. I like the first several geese. I went, oh wow, she has numbers of where they're supposed to. Anyway, don't tell Benjamin that I did that. So there you go. You have a perfect geese right there. Goose, perfect goose. And let's make another one right here. And then we're gonna do it all over again because I know that you're still lost. I taught a class to, I'm totally forgetting her name, on Thursday of last week. And then I also had a Mystic Vineyard class on Saturday and another one on Tuesday. And it's so neat to watch folks learn how to use the ruler because then, you know, at first it's like, how do you do this? And then they're like, oh, this is so much fun. That was you, Barbara. You had a lot of fun using a ruler that you at first were like, anyway, I think it's hilarious. Okay, so next we're going to do this again. Okay, so because I want you to see it several times. It just takes, you know, I picked it up pretty quick, but you got to read the instructions several times. Okay, here we go. So I have a larger piece. That is my fabric A. In this particular geese, we're making 1 inch by 2 inch geese finished. So this is what they look at like when they're done. Little 1 by 2s. And then we're doing, so that means I need a 5 inch big piece and I need a 3.5 inch smaller piece. So I did, of course, use the numbers or use the book for that. I am placing them right sides together, just like that. Okay. And then I am going to go ahead and I am going to use my ruler here, but I am going to mark this one. I am not going to cut it. I want to mark it, and then I want to go ahead and stitch on either side of the line because I think that this in particular will help with the stretch. I was really having, it just was awkward. It's almost like I feel like this is just the way to make half square triangles. So this is just, yeah, this is the way. Here we go. Let me see if we're up. There we go. Okay, so now we're gonna go on one side. Here we go. And then I'm going to go on the other side. And I am sure there is a reason this does not work or you should not do this. And so when I find that out, I will definitely bring it back to you and say, wait, I was totally wrong. It should never be done this way. So yeah, anyway. But it seems like that stitches, it just is easier for me to go ahead and do the stitching. And now what I'm gonna do is go ahead and cut. So like I said, I could bring out the big one. And this one might even, I could maybe even use the 0 line. Oh, look at that, I can. So I can use my 0 line right there to go ahead and cut down the center. With the other one, you just couldn't because it was just too big to be able to get into the little groove. All right, so there we go. Now, and I didn't have any problem sewing that. So I think that that will be my method from now on, is to mark and then stitch and then cut. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I am going to press that fabric, the fabric toward the big side. There we go. Go on. There you go. I'm going to press this fabric to the big side and press this fabric to the big side. So I start with my big side on top and then I pull it over to the, you don't have to do it that way, guys. Whatever's most comfortable for you. Part of it is if I do it the same way every time, I'm better. And so, all right, so next we're gonna place these on top of each other, okay? But we wanna make sure that we're putting the colored part to the, well, your A to your B fabric. You do not wanna put A to A. You wanna put A to B, okay? And so that to me, I have to admit, I almost messed one up. It sounds silly that I would do that, but if I can mess something up, I will. That's why I have to do these practice things and make sure that, and I'm just loving this. I'm loving that I had this fabric to be able to play with because it is going to make the cutest notebook cover. So again, it would normally say cut in your book. And so I think the technique is that you would go ahead and cut and then you would stitch. I find it a little bit easier to go ahead and, whoops, that's a needle, not a pin, to go ahead and stitch and then cut. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this one. And I am stitching, whoop, there we go. I am stitching 1/4 inch on each side of my line so that I end up with 2 when I cut. Go. So now I can cut down that line and then I will end up with 2 and we can trim. Oh, see, I mean, we fight over these silly stripologies, y'all. Okay, so I am gonna, I'm gonna snip. Wait a minute, I gotta get back here where y'all can see. Woo, or I can move the camera. There we go. So I am going to snip right there in the center to the stitch line, but not on, don't go over the stitches. And then I am going to open this up. And I am going to press toward fabric A. And I can tell what that is because I've already pressed toward this side. And so I know I want to keep that open. And so that is another clue that you can use to make sure you're doing these correctly. There we go. It's a little bunchy there in the center. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. It gets cut off in a second. And so you can see how that one's already pressed down, so it needs to go that way. And that one's already pressed down, so it needs to go that way. And now we can do the cutting. Okay, so remember that the body of your geese are going to start this way. And so that's where we're starting. And we want to bring in our center mark, whoops, to the tip of the goose body and line up the wings. And then I can already tell, I don't even need to look at what numbers I need to go to, but it will tell me that my first cut is at 2 and that my second cut is at 3.5. Right there. And then I have to move. So I pick up and I go over here and line that body up and that center up, that center line up. Okay, and then this is my green cut. You can't see it because you can't see the book. And it goes at 3 and it goes at 4.5. Yep, that makes total sense. And now, look at that. Aren't they the cutest? Okay, here we go. Almost done. So now I'm gonna, oops, yep, I want my tip going up that way. Okay, sorry, I want my tip going up that way. And now I'm gonna bring in so that I have my center and my white lines, or my diagonal lines are following my geese wings. There we go. And I can tell right here, I'm gonna go right here and right here. The cut lines are like lining up perfectly. And so it is incredibly hard for me to make a mistake. I mean, it's actually incredibly easy for me to make a mistake, but the stripology is making it a little bit more difficult than it could be. So now I'm going to do one more for you. I am lining up right there with my tip, lining up my wings right there, and then making my cuts. There we go. I already have 6 of them. Guys, and 8. I already have 8 of these already. So, like, I have one whole line on my notebook of flying geese, and I haven't even, like, tried here. So, look at how quick that was. Could you imagine if you got some assembly line stuff going and doing some serious chain piecing? I mean, you could whip out some serious flying geese. So, and then I was looking at the fact that these little ones right here start with a 5-inch square. And so you could easily get that your 5-inch square pack and do a ton with a charm pack. You could do a ton of little flying geese with a charm pack. And so I'm sitting there going, oh, well, I have ideas. We just got some new fabric in, so now I have ideas. So thank you so much for joining me. Today we talked all about flying geese. If you want to see any other videos involving the stripology, we have several out there now. Next time I see you will not be next week. I have a camp next week, and so I'm going to be teaching children how to sew, a whole bunch of different stuff. I cannot wait. And the following week I will be back with another Stripology Live, but I believe what I'm going to be doing is using my Stripology to make a notebook cover, because I have so many little pieces now of this gorgeous fabric. I have to put something together. I mean, it's one thing to cut fabric apart and put it back together again, but sooner or later I want it to look like something. So I need a notebook cover for my shop, and so I'm going to put a notebook cover together the next time we meet for Stripology class. And then next Monday we also won't have Hankie Live. That's going to be another week, so we won't have any lives next week. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and that if you enjoyed this video, you will like, comment, subscribe, and all that other wonderful YouTube stuff. We have hit 500 followers, so we're so excited. And then tonight, we have a live doing our nightcap. So we are doing our end of the month nightcap. Will is making this fantastic beverage that is red, white, and blue, so you have got to tune in to see that. And we have a whole bunch of new things in the shop to show you, including the Mystic Vineyard is now complete, and so she will be hanging behind me, and so you have got to come and see that gorgeous quilt completed. And so we will see you this evening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and make sure you subscribe and share. Bye everyone.